What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here talking about some more transfer targets today, and we're going to be looking at wingers. We know that Steven Bergwijn is probably leaving. Lucas Moura's future potentially up in the air as well, so it looks like we will be dipping into the market for a winger or two in this summer. And we've got five? Yeah, we got six actually wingers to talk about and to look at. And first one we're going to look at is Anthony of Ajax. He's had a really good year this year for Ajax. He's played 23 games, 8 goals, 4 assists. He's been a star in this Ajax team this season. His market value is about £30 million with his contract running until 2025. Manchester United are heavily linked with him for this summer, obviously with Erik ten Hag there, and he knows full well his qualities. 22 years of age, Brazilian international, getting 9 caps and 2 goals. And every time I see him play, he's a proper tricky winger. Do you think he would suit the Premier League?
It's too early to say because he's had a breakout year this year. He's kind of a winger who's very tricky. He's got very good skills and he's very pacey, but can be bullied potentially. Obviously, he's done very well in the Dutch league, done very, very well in the Champions League as well, to be fair to him. But whether he can make that step up or consistently perform in the Premier League is very much an unknown. Apparently, Spurs as well are looking for a winger who likes to play off the left. That's the reports. So maybe they're looking at one who maybe in a view of maybe giving Son a more central role on more often, potentially. 3-5-2 potentially. Yeah, and potentially that as well. So I think Anthony's probably not going to be one for us, in my opinion.
I mean, he does predominantly play off the right, but he has been deployed on the left as well this season, so he can be quite versatile. Predominantly left-footed, but yeah, his favourite position is right wing. So maybe you got some point there. Next up, we're going to be talking about Yannick Carrasco of Atletico Madrid. In a strange one, Carrasco, because he's 28 years of age, and it just feels like he's been around forever just because he went to China so young, which was very strange. But he has got a market value of around 36 million. He has had a bit of a dip in his career, but it seems as though that this year he's had a lot of game time in La Liga. 34 games, 6 goals, 6 assists. Player that can be versatile, playing on the left wing or at left wing back as well, where he's been deployed quite a few times this season. And I've always liked him as a player. I mean, especially before he went to China, I thought he was unbelievable. But since he went to China, he did take a bit of a dip.
He did, but I think he's had a bit of a renaissance recently, and he's actually playing at a very good level. He does predominantly play actually left wing back, then on left wing for Atletico Madrid, I think. So I think that if we were to sign him, that's maybe the role we would look for him. I don't think we would sign him to play in competition for Son. I think we'll probably see him more in that role. But obviously he can play that role, and he's played that role many, many times, especially before his move to China. So definitely something you can do. And he's obviously, 6 goals and 6 assists this season. He's starting to get better output. I remember he scored in a Champions League final against Real Madrid. I remember that a few years ago. So he can do it on the big stage. He's played at many tournaments for Belgium as well, so has a lot of experience. And maybe his time in China, although he had a bit of a dip, maybe it gave him a new kind of outlook in the sense that he shouldn't waste his career like he has done over those few years, and maybe he wants to make up for lost time. So he's one who I definitely consider. I think he's a good player, and I think Conte could get the most out of him. But him on the left as a right-footed, he's definitely a winger playing a left wing back, if that makes sense. So defensively, he's not the best. And is he good enough to play left wing in competition for Son? Probably not. But left wing back, I think he's pretty good.
So strange him going to China, because such a talented player. He was like, at the time he went to China, he was literally like one of the most talked about players in Europe at that stage. Obviously not the heights of like the biggest players in Europe, but he was a top player. And I just felt like, why don't you just wait until you're 33, go over to China then and earn your money? And it was just a strange one for me.
Yeah.
And but anyway, he's come back and he's playing well this season for Atletico Madrid, so he's one that we should seriously consider. But next up, we're going to be talking about Burnley's Dwight McNeil. Obviously, Burnley got relegated this season, so it could be options there. Young player in 22 years of age. I've been quite impressed with what I've seen from him. He's a left winger, but he could also play at left wing back as well. Had 10 caps for the under 21s, got a 20 million market value on transfer market. He's played 38 games this season, 0 goals, 1 assist. But that's probably due to the team he's playing for. More
Yeah, I
than
think
his
that.
abilities.
I think last season, 2 seasons ago, sorry, he got like 10 assists. So I think he had a bit of a better time of it. Couple years ago, a very hard-working midfielder. I think he's definitely much more accustomed to a left wing back role than again on the left wing. I think he gets tarnished with this reputation because he's at Burnley that he's not that good. But I actually think he's a very good up and coming winger. Still only 22 years of age. He definitely is not afraid to do the dirty work, and I think Conte could be a big fan of him. But is he good enough to play on that left wing role? If, say, Son was injured, you put McNeil there. Is he good enough? It's definitely where Son plays now in the 3-4-3 in that inside forward position. I don't know if he's good enough for that role, but definitely a left wing back. He could be retrained to be quite a good one, I reckon.
But at 22, good age of further scope to improve. Do you reckon Conte could do that to him?
Or develop into a left wing back?
Into a left winger, or even a left winger to the heights that we want to get to?
I don't know. I don't know about being a left winger. I don't know if he has. I don't know if he's ever going to be good enough in that role, especially because I don't know if he's one of those players who's good in like little tight spaces and gets in the position Son gets into. He hasn't shown it anyway. He might be able to develop it, but he hasn't shown that's what he's good at. But he definitely has shown he's very good at dribbling out wide. He's got a very good cross on him, and he's very good and he's a very hard worker. So that tells me left wing back could be his role.
All right, let's move on to Wolves' Pedro Neto, who I completely admire. Obviously, he had his big injury problems this year, was out for the majority of the year. He did end up playing 13 games, only getting 1 goal and 1 assist, but he's one of Wolves' best players, in my opinion. Last year, he was absolutely sensational. Tricky customer, quick feet, works very hard. At 22 years of age, I would absolutely love him. I think he's a top player. He's played on the left, he's played on the right, he's played as a second striker for Wolves as well. Starting to get recognition from Portugal as well with 3 caps and 1 goal in the meantime. His contract, he's got a long contract up until 2027. So you've got to imagine that he probably will command quite a big fee. Market value at 31.5 million. What's your opinion on Pedro Neto?
Yeah, obviously he had that big injury. That's obviously an issue for him, and he hasn't. I'm not saying he's come back and looked bad. I don't think he has, but he hasn't obviously been at the same level just yet. I think there are signs of it. Obviously scored on the last day of the season against Liverpool, so definitely signs of him getting back to his best, but hasn't quite shown just yet that he is. Before his injury, he was one of the most exciting attackers in the Premier League. I think he was phenomenal. I think he definitely can play on the left or the right. I think he's one of those players who's got really good quality on his left foot, very good dribbler. I think he could play in either of those inside forward positions to a high level, and especially at his age, he's got a big scope to improve. So I think if Wolves are willing to do a deal, it could be one we might be able to get him for a decent-ish price now, just because he's just been injured. I think if you wait a year, his price might double. So that, I think if you're going to get him, you might look at now. But then again, it's a risk because you're signing him before you know he's back to his best. So that's the risk, I would say. It's in this role, in this transfer. But I love him. I thought he was brilliant before his injury. So it's just question mark whether he's got over his injury problems.
Yeah.
Which there's no suggestion that he hasn't, but there's just no suggestion that he has yet either.
Yeah, no, I get that. But I think he's a top talent. He really is. Let's move on. Let's talk about Rafaelinha of Leeds, who's obviously unbelievable player. If Leeds would have gone down, he would have had a release clause of 25 million. Now they have stayed up. He will cost considerably more than that. 25 years of age, 11 goals this season, 3 assists in 35 appearances. Obviously, Leeds' star man. And Barcelona have been heavily linked with him. I think now that they've stayed up and that release clause isn't there, I think that Barcelona won't be able to afford him. They did sign him in 2020 for 16 million. So you're probably looking at around the 40-50 million bracket for someone like Rafinha. His market value on transfer market is 40 million. Obviously, he's got that Brazilian flair to him. He's got quick feet. He knows how to beat a man, and he's great at set pieces as well. So another one who I'd love through the door.
I think he's brilliant. I think he's exactly what we need. Even though he predominantly plays on the right, I think I think he's versatile enough to can play different positions. I think he's got great feet, and I think he's got a really good finish, especially cutting inside on his left peg. Brilliant at dribbling. I think he's carried Leeds for a lot of the season as well, in a very poor Leeds team who, for all intents and purposes, could have easily gone down except for him. I think he led by example. He did get very frustrated though in a few late games, especially I remember against Arsenal. He had to be taken off early because he was getting too frustrated with the situation, and it happened I think in the game after as well. So it does suggest a few attitude problems, but I think he's one of those players where you put him in a better team and he will shine. He could have a Mane effect, I think. I think he's that good. So I'm a massive, massive fan of Rafinha, although I think he's, with his age and maybe other clubs in for him, I think we're probably going to be priced out, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, where do you see him going? And do you see him definitely leaving Leeds this summer?
Yeah, I do. I think with them nearly getting relegated and maybe they want the money to reinvest in other areas, I do see maybe him leaving this summer. They're very lucky they didn't get relegated, because I think 25 million is an absolute steal for Rafinha. So now they're going to get more money. I actually wouldn't have been surprised if he's gone to Liverpool, but it looks like with Salah staying, they might not go for him now. I think it looks like Mane's leaving, but I don't think he'll play in that position. So I don't know where he goes. Maybe Spurs could be a good option for him. Maybe I'm worried maybe Arsenal, because if Pepe's leaving, but then they have Saka there. So I don't know if they need that competition.
There's also rumours of Serge Gnabry or something going back to Arsenal. Or something.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. Hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Last but not least, we're going to look at Richarlison of Everton, another player who just about avoided the drop. Look, I like Richarlison. He's mainly been deployed as maybe a centre forward this season, but is very versatile, can play up front, can play on either side of the wing, 25 years of age. They signed him for a lot of money, Everton. He's played 30 games this season, 10 goals, 5 assists, so good output there. He's been linked with Tottenham recently. Who was it? I think Sammy Mockbell saying that Spurs are interested in him. And I think he brings good attributes. He's a bit of a moaner, has a bit of a shithouse mentality to him as well, which you kind of like if he's on your team, but if he's against you, you really don't like. And I like him just because I think he's a good player, but in terms of the other targets, I like him because of his versatility, and he can play as maybe that backup striker role as well.
Yeah, and he's got this reputation for some reason that he's got a bad attitude or something, but I think he carried Everton. I think if it wasn't for him, Everton will be down. And I think, especially late in the season, he really stepped up when Everton needed him, and he got so many crucial goals to keep them in the division. I think he could have easily just sulked and allowed Everton to go down, but I think he really stepped up when they needed him most, I felt. Obviously, he nearly went to Barcelona a year ago or 2 years ago for 50 million. That never happened. And then he was promised by Ancelotti they'll be challenging for Champions League. That never happened. So definitely, if I was him, I'll be looking to move on. And I think Tottenham could be a perfect place for him. The only thing I would say, yeah, it's great. He can play up front. He can play on the left. He's not great when he's got the ball to feet, when he's asked for a bit of passing and moving in tight spaces. He can be a bit sloppy. That's not good. That's not his forte. Dribbling, he's very good. Finishing, I think he's great. He's got a very good shot on him. And I think defensively, I think he works very, very hard. So I think he would work under Conte. He just got to improve his accuracy when it comes to not being sloppy on the ball. But I think he's a very good player. I would really like him at Spurs.
Interesting. With his market value being at £45 million and Everton being in financial problems, they need to get rid of someone to recoup some of that FFP stuff. How much do you reckon we can get him for?
When's his contract run out?
2024. 2 years.
2 years left. Yes, you're still probably looking at over 45-50 million, unfortunately, because he's their best player.
All right, well, let's have a look at all the selections that we've picked. So there's Anthony of Ajax, Yannick Carrasco, Dwight McNeil, Pedro Neto, Rafinha and Richarlison. Who's your number one pick from there?
If we're talking purely about a winger, I think Richarlison is my number one pick from that one. I think Richarlison's the best fit. You could argue maybe Neto might develop into a better player, but I think right now Richarlison would add so much quality depth to our forward line, and he's versatile as well. So I think I'll pick Richarlison.
I mean, I kind of agree with you, Richarlison, but it's not for me in terms of best suit for the system. Me, just purely down because of his versatility and that he can play up front and he can play on the left-hand side. If I was toiling basically just on a winger, I think I'm going for Pedro Neto. I know he's had those injury problems, but I think he's that good that he can come in and slot in and provide good cover for Heung-min Son, and also he can play in a number of positions. So I'll look at those three, Pedro Neto, Rafinha and Richarlison, and I'd be happy, I'd be delighted with Pedro Neto and Rafinha, and I'd be happy with Richarlison.
Yeah, Rafinha as well. I'd love him through the door. But obviously, if we're looking for one who plays off the left, he wouldn't be perfect for it. But I think with a player with that quality, if you got a chance, I think you should take it.
All right. Well, that is our opinions on the wingers. Those are the 6 that we have picked out. Let me know in the comment section below which one would you prefer. And if none of them, let me know in the comment section below if you have any new names down below. Thank you, everyone, for watching us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.